then maybe we'll try to answer some questions. So
okay. So yeah,
hi,
what roadmap do you want me to follow here?
Why don't you start maybe by saying who you are, your name, where you work, what you do, and then maybe we'll back it up to how you got started on all that.
Okay. My name is Jorge Sanchez-Salazar. I work at a company. It's a small biotech, not that small right now, actually. We've got 100 employees now, called Codiak BioSciences. It is in the Alewife area of Cambridge. And at the moment, I am the manager of the Exosome Production Core. So the company is involved in using exosomes, which are small extracellular vesicles that we isolate using some, well, they used to be proprietary, but we've got patents for them now, so they're out in the open, using some overexpressed proteins on the outside of the exosomes that we can use for engineering. We can use it for isolation of the exosomes, and we're trying to use them as therapeutics. We're modifying the outside of the exosomes, the proteins that are on the outside of the exosomes, let's say with antibodies on the outside or different proteins that can bind to different receptors. We're also trying to load things inside the exosomes because they're just, they're vesicles, so they're hollow. They can be hollow on the inside, and we're trying to actively put stuff in the middle, on the inside, and then combinations of the two, where we can direct the exosome to go to some particular tissue with some particular payload and affect some sort of therapeutic effect, have some sort of therapeutic effect. So that's what we're working on. The company, I am in charge of the group that makes like the large scale exosomes. So we have one particular flavor of exosome that we're using for a lot of our clinical trials, and we're putting stuff inside of this sort of vanilla exosome, but we need just gobs of it. As you can, it's like it's our drug product, so we need just gobs of this stuff. So I'm in charge of the people who are making the gobs of protein, or making the gobs of exosomes.
So you really are a biomanufacturer. Like you are scaling up the discovery and the creativity and the ingenuity that is going to be the therapeutic. I mean, we read about it all the time now because of the need for, lots of mRNA for these vaccines, lots of antibodies for these treatments. So you are the person that we think about who's responsible for taking the discoveries that are working at the bench and making large scale.
Right. There are other people we have a whole manufacturing facility in Lexington that are doing just gigantic scale, like 500-liter reactors, perfusion reactors that are constantly going. So the perfusion reactors, they're getting 500 liters of material from the reactor every day, and that has to be processed. We're working on the scale of like 10 to 25 liters, somewhere around there.
It's still way more than I've ever worked with in the lab. So.
Right. But it's still quite a bit.
Yeah, that's great. And so what is your group like? Do you have a lot of people you work with every day? Or, I mean, I know we are in strange times, and so it's not.
Right. There's two young women who report to me. We are the Exosome Production Core. We're here every day. And yeah, they've done, even in this, these crazy times, we've managed to really do quite a lot. We were going over, now it's like the year-end conversations about how did your year go and what did we do this year? So we've been going through all that stuff, and it's just, we've done a lot. And I can only imagine how much more we would have done. It would have been like normal. I will probably be needing to hire more people in the short term. I mean, in the new year coming up soon, if all things go well. So yeah, there's two young women who work for me, work with me, and yeah, we just plugging away. We've got a nice rhythm going, and we're looking forward to a break. We'll shut down for Christmas, but we're looking forward to a break to just not to be here.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to take a little bit of a breather, given all that's going on. So you were working in industry. Did you always know you wanted to work in industry? Biotech industry or bioengineering industry?
I was lucky enough that I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I was lucky enough that there were a few companies way back when I was in high school that were actually doing like this sort of thing. There was like Genentech. There was Roche, a company, I think they're defunct or they've been swallowed up by some other company called Chiron at the time. So I did know that these sort of jobs existed. I really didn't have an idea of how to get into one, but I knew that, I really liked biology in high school, and I had this idea that I could do that for a living, which is kind of cool. I mean, I think I have a really cool job, and I like the people I work with. I like the things I'm doing. I like the fact that hopefully someday the things that we're doing will affect humans, patients, people with diseases, and we will be able to make their disease better or even make it go away somehow. So yeah, that's
I think the impact that you can have working in industry, it's very direct, right? You can see the line. It's very directly drawn when you're working in industry, the impact you're having on public health and public well-being. So I think that's very cool. And, it sounds like you really like working in industry, that you work with great people and that you do creative things. And
yeah, I do like, I really like industry. I like working. And the kids that are probably listening in right now, you live in an area where you can't swing, whatever. You can't spit without hitting, someone who you can't spit nowadays anyway. You can't do those sort of things without hitting someone who works in biotech around here, right? I mean, I can see from my window 4 or 5 companies. I could go up on the roof and I could point out where all the, there's probably 10 companies around here. If you're down, we're in the Alewife area. If you're down in the Kendall Square area, there's MIT, first of all. But there's just so many companies down there that you can.
Yeah. And what I love about the field that we're working in, bioengineering, synthetic biology, and general biotechnology for the 21st century, is I really do think that those opportunities are going to expand across the country. That we are, if you're living in Cambridge, Massachusetts, or working in Cambridge, Massachusetts, there is an abundance of places to do this work. But I think that opportunity is going to expand generally. And started in San Francisco, so there is also a lot going on there. So
yeah, there's a lot going on there. Yeah. I think I saw the other day about I think it's like an I-95 corridor, about like all the square footage of biotech that there is. It's like millions of square feet in Cambridge and New York. In the New York area, there's quite a lot. Down to Washington, Philadelphia, in the Maryland, the Maryland, DC, NIH area, and all that. There's just this big corridor of biotech going on. But there's also little pockets here and there. Like, where was one? Boulder, Colorado. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit there, and somewhere in the Midwest. I was surprised by that one. I think it was somewhere in, I want to say Iowa. I think somewhere in that area.
So I think there's a lot of ag tech that's going to expand, and I know that the Southeast region is also expanding. All the technologies for fermentation are useful for growing up bio-based products. So I think we're going to have a great boom, a series of opportunities outside of just even our window on the world here. So yeah. So let's see. So in San Francisco, you could see companies and you knew that there were good jobs there. Is that what led you to think that you wanted to just continue to pursue science? Was that just like a smooth arrow from walking past Genentech into your
not really. I saw that those companies were there and that there were probably opportunities there. But what I really wanted to do, was something like in the ecology field, like I don't even like working out in the field, like taking samples of fish or something, or doing something like that. So my undergraduate degree is actually in ecology. Well, actually integrative biology with an ecology emphasis. But I soon learned that there were not a lot of jobs for people with that kind of education. So I went back and I got my master's degree in molecular and cell biology.
Where did you do those 2 degrees? Did you mention?
I have my undergraduate degree is from University of California, Berkeley. And then I met a girl and I moved to Pittsburgh to follow her. And I got my master's degree at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. And then we moved here. We're still married. We're married. We're still married after all these years. And then we moved here because she did a residency at New England Medical Center. And I think it's just really kind of luck that I ended up here, because she could have taken a residency somewhere else. But luck smiled upon me and I ended up here. And I started working at Harvard Biolabs on the Harvard campus when I first moved here. And then I moved to this super tiny company called Genetics Pharmaceuticals. There were like 9 people who worked there. And I worked there for about a year. Actually, they sort of went underground and they became virtual for a while, but then they reemerged and the genesis of that company became Bluebird Bio.
Oh.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I didn't have any stock options in there. But then I went from from genetics to Biogen, and I worked at Biogen for a decade and a half or so, and then eventually almost 20 years actually there, and then eventually I ended up here at Codiak. There are a lot of Biogen alumni here. Our CEO is a Biogen alum.
Yeah. So I think some of the things that might be surprising to the people, listening and hearing about your career trajectory is the notion that you can sort of go from place to place, small startup to larger established place to, that you can sort of have a more meandering path and land in places. It's kind of an opportunity that comes up and then you can take it, and that luck factors in so much to all of this, right place, right time kind of feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all depends on what you like or what you're ready to take on. I mean, I was a Biogen for a long time just because I had small kids. They're not small anymore, but I had small kids, and the groups I worked in at Biogen were were kind of flexible for my schedule. Like, if I had to run because somebody had a fever or something and the daycare was calling, I could run off. Those people had kids, they understood. It was more, my life fit into the box of my job better, right? So, and the reason I took this job is my kids are older now. I thought it was a bit of a leap of faith for me, as wondering how my life will fit into the box that is Codiak, and it's fit quite well so far, luckily. But I did take a little leap of faith about it working out. But mostly I came here because I thought the science was cool, and the person I was working for when I came here was just a really nice guy. He was just, for the longest time, I thought he was Canadian, but he's actually not. But he's just such a nice guy that I just really wanted to work for him and with him. And he's really bright and everything on top of that. So it was, I've read articles about don't pick a job, pick a manager, sort of thing. I mean, your job, you can do, you could probably do whatever someone asks of you if you are engaged enough in it. But, manager, if you have a bad manager, that affects your day to day. You just don't want to get out of bed and go to work sometimes, right?
Finding a good fit, a happy place to be working really, really matters. Because like you were saying, the coolest job in the world, if you're miserable doing it, is not going to be an exciting thing to get up and do every day. So yeah. So so you have great, confidence that you're going to land on your feet. You have great, background and talent and everything else. So do you come from a big family of scientists that you kind of always knew that you would do this? And
oh no, absolutely not. My parents are I'm first generation American. My parents are immigrants. My parents worked in food industry their whole lives. My dad was a manager of a restaurant. My mom worked in cafeterias pretty much her whole life. So yeah, I had no idea. I just really like science, and it just turned out that you can make a decent living doing it. Luckily, so no, I didn't. I had no. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like my parents are doctors and I was supposed to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. I just sort of really liked doing this. I thought it was. I mean, it is intellectually engaging, and it's just fascinating. I really like there are times during my weeks where I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about, how did this experiment turn out, because it's been going overnight, or like the other day you have like these aha moments, like when your mind is wandering, like I'm brushing my teeth, I'm like, oh, maybe if I do this, this good thing will happen. So I like that. That's just what really drew me to it.
Yeah. Me too. I thought that was always just so fun that you could be excited to come in the morning and see what happened overnight, and then also have that ability to decide, like, well, what am I going to do without that next, right? Like, just to be able to sleep on it, roll, experiments over in your head and feel like, yeah, I could just try that. Maybe that will fix it, right? That's very, it's driven by curiosity and excitement, and you have some agency with it, which is really very, very cool. So, so did you have great people along the way helping you to realize all of this wonderful career?
My high school, my family life wasn't that great, I have to say. High school, I luckily, again, luck, got into the University of California. I was commuting because, I grew up right in the San Francisco Bay Area, so it was there, and it was pretty much free at the time, and I applied and I got in. So that's how I ended up at Berkeley. I know there's people who would kill themselves to get there, but I kind of lucked into it. And then I will have to credit one of my master's advisor. His name is John Doctor. He really, I got to Duquesne. I didn't do well. I didn't really do very well at Cal. I barely graduated, I have to say. I was working like 35 hours a week. And I got to Duquesne. I didn't have I didn't have any money. I was taking loans. I wasn't part of the actual, I didn't have a stipend, excuse me. I didn't have a stipend or anything. I wasn't a TA. I was just, there doing the classes and stuff. And then one day, it was a developmental biology class I took. It was our first exam. I took our exam in developmental biology, and Dr. Doctor was a professor. And he called me in his office, and I thought I was in trouble. And I remember he said, he was really impressed with my my answers to the questions, right? Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. I feel that he really was the one who got me rolling, right? He said, I've got this position in my lab. You're much brighter than you appear on paper. I want you to be in my lab. So that's what got me going there.
That's a wonderful story. I love that. That's amazing. And how wonderful to turn around and recognize talent and foster it. And, I will sort of mention while you take a sip of water that it was your interest in doing exactly that for students that we work with in BioBuilder that led you and I to connect. And I know that you have done a lot of mentorship and a lot of work with students in BioBuilder while we were in person for sure, and now obviously virtually. So it's clear that this is important and meaningful to you to foster this next generation.
Yeah, I think science education is just, it's for me, it's the most important thing, because it brings all kinds of different things together. I mean, math and science, and I mean, you have to be able to communicate your experiment, or your results, your data, and everything, and it's just sort of a catch-all on everything.
Yeah, it's true. And so I think it's wonderful when we can hear from people in the industry who have made it through dedicating their life to doing of science. And